Hello everyone and welcome back to another day of Road to TCG Worlds 2017. Dallas Regionals is in a couple of days. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to attend. I was really trying to, but in the end things didn't work out as I wanted them to, and therefore I couldn't. But I wish all of you who are going the best of luck, and today we are reviewing what I consider to be another of the best decks in the format. I believe there's three best decks in the format. There's Yveltal in its very own tier at the moment, and right behind it are Greninja and Volcanion. Those are the decks that are consistently performing over tournaments, and there's a lot of other very viable decks: Vespiquen Substrika, Rainbow Road, Mega Ray, Mega Gardy, Mega Mewtwo, Mega Scissor, but I feel like all of those have a lot more polarizing matchups, in the sense that they have quite a few, or not quite a few, but they might have some very clear auto losses, whereas Yveltal, whereas Greninja and Volcanion really have a chance versus literally every deck. So today we're going to be playing Greninja. It's been a while since I used it in the channel. We did play it back in like the first few weeks of the standard format, but I was using the non-Talonflame version, and I've been using the non-Talonflame version at tournaments myself. But this list, pretty similar to Grafton Roll's list, which I will link in the description down below, my review of the deck. I'm not gonna go too deep into the card choices, because I did go, if you want to see why and things like that, they will be in the video link down below, but I did make a few changes. Now, this was mostly a local metagame call, but I feel like it's a really good idea. Besides the max potions, which help you heal off your Greninjas, and besides the enhanced hammers, which help you slow down Darkrai, Giratina stuff, and Yveltal, I put in 3 Rough-Seas. We're not talking too much about one-hit KOs anymore, so Rough-Seas, healing some damage in between, like during your turn, and maybe preventing a Y Cyclone plus Evil Ball KO combo and things like that, can be really useful, or at least to force your opponent to have Lysander. Otherwise he will miss a KO, and with a constant stream of N and potentially Ace Trainer, you can usually deny your opponent from taking a lot of prizes on Greninja. Now, the issue with Greninja is, of course, always, or has always been, of course, setting up. So no matter what you do for the late game, the issue is setting up. The issue is when you prize 1 or even 2 Frogadiers, which does happen. And yeah, if you want to hear my thoughts on the deck outside of the Rough-Seas, you can check out the link down below. There's a review of the decks that did well at London. But otherwise, let's jump right into the games. Now, I used this deck at the last league challenge, which I placed in second place, which I got second place at, rather. And it was 5 rounds. The 4 rounds I started Talonflame, I won, and the 1 round I didn't start Talonflame, I lost. So there's a case for Talonflame right there. I'll be honest, I generally didn't consider Talonflame for any of the tournaments I attended in the past, simply because it's kind of unreliable. Like, if you don't start with it, then you're in a little bit of trouble. But I mean, there's been success with Talonflame and without Talonflame. Not by me, unfortunately, but by other people, such as Alex DeRocher in Fort Wayne, and then Grafton Roll in London. So yeah, we are up against Mega Scissor, I believe. So starting Talonflame would have been absolutely amazing. My loss in that league challenge was to Mega Scissor, very surprisingly, I would say. But it was simply because I was never able to set up, and the one turn I was nearly, like, I was coming very close to setting up. Wow, it's actually Mega Mewtwo with Metal type Pokemon and Garbodor. Okay, so never mind. This is way more scarier. Yeah, my loss was to Mega Scissor simply because he had a Giovanni's and he played it in order to KO my only Greninja and things like that. Otherwise, I would have been able to take the hit, evolve into the break, and blah blah. But anyways, we're not gonna be doing too much during our turn. We have 2 Ultra Ball and Dive Ball. We need energy though. Okay. We do top deck a Sycamore. There's no Frogadier priced. There's no Greninja or Greninja Break priced, which is interesting. So what is priced? Because there's no Talonflame priced either. That's a bit scary. What is priced? Let's figure it out. 2 versus Seekers are priced. Wow. Wow. My prizes are 2 versus Seekers and 3 Sycamore. 2 versus Seekers, 3 Sycamore, and 1 card I can't think of right now, but wow. That's just dumb. Honestly, guys, that is just dumb. I'm not gonna play the Sycamore right now because I do have the Frogadier. But maybe I could have searched for a Froakie. Wow. My prizes are literally 2 Sycamore and like, I genuinely can't believe it. 2 Sycamore? No, 2 Verseeker and 3 Sycamore. 2 versus Seeker and 3 Sycamore. Spirit Link, does he get the Float Stone? If he doesn't, that would actually be pretty amazing. Mega Turbo. He doesn't, okay. So at least we have that going for us. Oh wow, and we top deck the Super Rod. That's cool because I can put these 2 back in. I'm gonna grab a Talonflame simply because I can discard it with Sycamore right here. I'm gonna put those 2, the Greninja and the Greninja Break, back in, and hopefully I will find an energy. I have 10 energy, so I should. Okay, and I find a Splash, which is great. No no further supporter though. No further supporter, which is honestly not too surprising because of what we know I currently have priced. But it's very annoying, especially when you're up against an already 4 energied Mewtwo. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun, isn't it? This is going to be genuinely fun. Okay. I went got rid of a Sycamore and an energy. He's gonna find the other Mega Mewtwo. See, here, I'm gonna guess he's gonna Sycamore, but I would really love to find my Enhanced Hammer soon because he's already discarded 1 TCE. There's 2 in play. There's a Sycamore play once again, and you'd expect my opponent to find the Float Stone now. If he doesn't find it, of course, I'm not gonna complain, but I generally doubt he's gonna whiff it at this point. Mega Turbo. Wow, does he actually whiff? Well, he's gonna try now. He's gonna go for the Shaman, I'm gonna guess. Yep. So he's gonna do his best, and I'm not gonna be too sad about it because of the fact that I'm gonna get the Frogadier back. But with no follow-up supporter, yep, it's gonna be really annoying because I only have access to 1 Greninja and no Greninja Break. So yep, I need 1 Greninja to have a chance to KO this Mewtwo. And I'm gonna top deck an energy, so no luck there. Sure, I will deal 80 damage right now. But then I lose my Greninja, which sucks. Attaching the bursting balloon literally doesn't help us out at all in this scenario, so I'm not gonna attach it. And yeah. Ugh. I think this is actually worse than pricing a Frogadier. How the heck do I prize 3 Sycamore and 2 versus Seekers? And now if I top deck a Greninja, wow, never mind. Now if I top deck a Greninja, my damage is reduced, my damage output. Wow, he chooses to retreat. Interesting. Interesting, but good play, I would say. We're not out of this yet, though. We are definitely not out of this yet. I'm not gonna count on top decking anything. Yep, there's an incredibly useful energy. I'm just gonna bubble, and obviously flip tails. Quite obviously flip tails. I'll reduce up my Super Rod. He's gonna heal his bench Mega Mewtwo. Man. What can I say, guys? With those prizes, we literally priced 5 draw cards, and the deck was obviously not gonna give me a follow-up N, a follow-up Ace Trainer, a follow-up versus Seeker of the 2 I still had in my deck, back-to-back Greninjas, nope, enhanced hammers to prevent damage, nope, that's just not gonna happen. I start Talonflame, but with a pretty bad hand, but I'll take it, I guess. I am going first. I do have the N, at least. I generally wanted to mulligan, but I made a mistake. Okay, I guess I'll attach an energy, and I will N here, and I will be able to potentially find a Froakie, which is cool. I will remove the Rough Seas and the Water Energy. I don't want healing really, I think, in this match. Max Potions should be good enough, and I'm gonna pass here. Only one Froakie is very scary because he can definitely Lysander and KO it with a baby Volcanion. He could get enough max elixirs and KO me with regular Volcanion. There's a first team up. There's an escape rope. That's fine, I'd say. That's really fine. His active has a Fighting Fury belt, so the odds of him switching it out here are very low, I would say. If he still had access to a Floatstone, like to attach to the active, then I'd actually be scared. But I'm not scared of losing my Froakie at this point in time. I hope off of my N I find either a Dive Ball or an Ultra Ball. That's all I need here. It's actually all I need. Okay, so my opponent does run Olympia. You would expect him to run Ranger. There's a 2 energy back, so if off of this Shaman to 6 he finds a switch, he will be able to KO my Froakie. If he does not find a switch, if he finds a float stone, then that's his mistake. That is definitely his mistake. Right? That is definitely his mistake. I guess we're not gonna find out. He simply passes. Okay, and I top deck the Frogadier, which is awesome. Do I end here or not? Do I end here or not? I guess I do, but if I find a Frogadier, I'm gonna cry. I'm not gonna end. I'm generally not going to end. There's one Greninja priced, no break price. There's 2 dive ball priced, so 1 Greninja, 2 dive ball, 1 max potion, 1 versus seeker, and 1 energy. Yeah, and 1 energy. So that's our 6 prize cards. If I were not so lazy, I would write them down, but but that's okay for now. And yeah, let's see what happens here with my opponent's turn. He definitely wants to KO something right now though. He's gonna Verseeker for Olympia. Okay, so he will be able to KO Frogadier. Obviously not the ideal scenario for us, but we have Talonflame. We should be able to set up Greninjas in the upcoming turns, and depending on our hand, we might not even need Talonflame. Well, it might be worth it. Okay, so Power Heater does get him a KO. That is fine. He does power up 2 Volcanions. Yeah, the key turn here is gonna be the Ranger turn. That's gonna be the key turn. I do find a Froakie. I do find a Greninja, which is awesome. I find a Splash, which is awesome as well. And I'm gonna deal 40 damage with Aero Blitz, and I'm gonna search for another Greninja. And what? And the Super Rod? What do I have in the discard pile? I guess a Super Rod to put back the Frogadier. That way, as long as I set up like a lot of Greninjas and I'm able to have a constant stream of Shadow Stitching, even if he finds the Ranger, if I combine my Shadow Stitching with Ends and with Ace Trainer, I should be okay, along with my abilities of course. And the math works out really nicely where I can Giant Water Shuriken the bench Pokemon, use Shadow Stitching, and not allow my opponent to retreat easily. He plays a Skyfield, but there's already 3 versus Seeker in his discard pile, so that means at most 2 access to Ranger, or access to Ranger twice only. So I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm generally feeling pretty confident here. I am generally feeling pretty confident. Sure, my opponent's gonna have a ton of Volcanion EXs powered up, a ton. But that's perfectly fine by me. I just need to make sure the math works out in my favor, in the sense that with enough Giant Water Shurikens, I can take KOs on Pokemon, on the right Pokemon. Okay, so I do find the Roughies. Let's play the Super Rod first. I'm gonna put back the Frogadier. Do I want the Froakie back? I guess I do. And yeah, like that. And then I'm gonna replace the Stadium. So no real advantage gained by either of us from the Skyfield, but especially him, which is good news. And I'm gonna retreat into Greninja Break. I'm gonna use Giant Water Shuriken right here, and I'm gonna deal damage to that Volcanion EX, which is a powered up one, but also the one that doesn't have a Fighting Fury belt. I don't draw anything too useful. I could, however, if I attach the Bursting Balloon, it's actually not bad. And I'm gonna Shadow Stitching here. At most my opponent will... Oh crap. Whoa. Rough Seas, that was really silly. Whoops. Okay, that's my bad. That Giant Water Shuriken should have gone on to Hoopa, not Volcanion. Yep. That Giant Water Shuriken should have gone on to Hoopa, not Volcanion. That was my big mistake right there. That was my big mistake right there. Whoops. Whoopsies. I mean, it's not the biggest of deals, honestly, but I should definitely be doing better here. So my opponent Ultra Bolts away nothing. Is he gonna Sycamore here? The last card in his hand is Sycamore. Is he gonna Power Heater into my Bursting Balloon? I don't think he's going to. He doesn't really need that much energy in play anymore. That Giant Water Shuriken was terrible, and I apologize for that, guys. I genuinely apologize for that. He's deciding. His last card is not a Sycamore or a Verseeker. He's deciding on whether to attack into the Power Heater. Yep, he's gonna do it. Attack into the Bursting Balloon rather, with Power Heater. Decides that attaching energy is worth it in exchange for a prize card, and he's gonna allow me to hit something. Okay, so he promotes Hoopa. That's interesting. I do have the option to Fisherman here, and I feel like that's a good play, although setting up more Greninjas might be better. But he only has one card in hand. Even if it's a Floatstone, it's really no big deal, honestly. Gonna Giant Water Shuriken the Shaman now. And I'm just gonna Shadow Stitching here. So sure, the Volcanion is gonna heal itself back up. That's my bad, like I said. That's really my bad. But it's fine. It's generally fine because in this scenario, oh, you're kidding me. Not only does he top deck, yeah, he obviously promoted this because he had the escape rope, but not only does he top deck the Fighting Fury belt to save the Shaman, he has the escape rope. Ugh. Okay. That's very annoying. That is genuinely very annoying. Okay. Now, there's two things I could do here. My opponent has 9 energy in play, right? And there's one right there. He has one card in his hand. If I remove the energy, he might not even be able to retreat. And I can... if he heals, I deal 80 plus 60, that's 240, minus 30 to 10. That's just enough for him not to get KO'd. Okay. So I'm gonna Giant Water Shuriken the Shaman. I'm gonna use the Team Flare Grunt so that he cannot retreat easily. And I'm gonna keep using Shadow Stitching. I really want to set up more Greninjas. I really do, but it's getting very precarious here. It's generally getting very precarious. For him to KO, he needs a Ranger and 2 Fire Energy. So we should be safe. Off of 2 cards, he cannot accomplish that, which is good news, of course. Which is obviously good news. Off of 3 cards, he cannot accomplish that. He has a Verseeker, he's gonna Sycamore. Okay. Wow, and his prize card? His prize card was either the Sycamore, I mean the Verseeker, or the Volcanion EX. He does choose to heal, and he replaces the stadium. He's gonna touch the Float Stone. He's gonna touch another Float Stone. He's got a max elixir, but well, he might hit. Yeah, he does hit. In fact, wow. So he can effectively attack this turn. He actually can attack, but he chooses not to. He actually chooses not to attack. Okay, 3 cards in hand for my opponent. I'm gonna Fisherman. I'm just trying to exhaust my resources here. Man, if I was doing double Giant Water Shuriken, this game would be absolutely sealed right now. I have a chance. No, I don't, because there's no Greninja BREAK in my prize cards. I think there was a Dive Ball, maybe a Verse Seeker and a Dive Ball. Okay, that's perfect. That is actually great. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go for the double Giant Water Shuriken here. Definitely gonna go for that. And then who do I KO though? I'm guessing the active. 60. No, I don't get a KO on the active. I actually don't get a KO on the active. Do I replace the stadium? Nah. I could remove another energy. No, I already played the Fisherman. Never mind. If I get a KO, he can KO me back and play an end. So that would not be good. So I'm gonna Giant Water Shuriken the Hoopa EX. And I'm gonna Shadow Stitching right here. Yep. Now he can't heal off anymore, which doesn't matter. I mean, as long as he... Oh, he has a Ranger, okay. He has a Ranger and 3 cards in his hand. There's 1 Steam Up. 1, 2... Wow. Fair enough. So he's gonna get the exact KO. But that's fine, I still win here. I believe. Yeah. No, I don't. Not yet. This is frustrating. Okay, but he shouldn't have any more. He shouldn't have any more. Yeah, 4 Verse Seeker and a Ranger already used up. 4 Energy Retrieval already. So I should be good here, guys. I generally should be good. I'm gonna Sycamore because I do need to set up a potential other Greninja, which I do get. Awesome. I guess I should have done that a bit sooner, maybe. But I should generally be okay here. I should generally be okay. All I need to do here is Shadow Stitching. I have the basic Water Energy to KO either the Hoopa or the Volcanion, both at 10 HP away from getting KO'd. Both at 10 HP away from getting KO'd. And this should seal the game off. Wow, my opponent has all 12 energy. If he attacks into my Bursting Balloon, he loses. Wow, he's not going to attack into my Bursting Balloon. Oh boy. Anyways, do I have a Lysander in my discard pile? Of course not. Of course not. I'm gonna Giant Water Shuriken here. KO Volcanion. Take my 2 prize cards. And there's a Lysander. Perfect. Perfect. So that's the win. Yeah. Whew. Basically, if you set up with Greninja, Volcanion should really never have a chance to beat you, but if they can string Ranger a few turns, you might be in a little bit of trouble. We did start Talonflame, but we only attacked once, so it wasn't that big a deal. Thankfully, we didn't lose our Froakie on turn 1. That was really good, of course. And yeah, okay, seems like we're up against Yveltal Garb. Seems like we are up against Yveltal Garb. Going first, which is always nice. Mulligan, whoops. I just hit the microphone. Okay. Okay. Another mulligan. Another mulligan. And nope. And nope. That's the 4th mulligan in a row. And there's a Talonflame. Okay, so there's Talonflame. Would you like to take a mulligan? No. There's Talonflame. We have an Ultra Ball to find Froakie, and we have N, which is awesome. And we can actually get rid of the Lysander and the Ace Trainer, so we have access to them later on with First Seeker. So that's actually pretty good. Definitely not gonna complain about this. And there's an Yveltal EX. Okay, so I'm going to Ultra Ball away the Ace Trainer. Nah, I'm gonna Ultra Ball away the Sycamore. No. Yeah. No. Cool. Okay, the Lysander for sure. See, my opponent might not get a KO for a few turns, so yeah, I'm gonna get rid of the Sycamore instead. I'm gonna find a Froakie. No Frogadier priced, no Greninja priced, 1 Greninja break priced. Good news, 1 break, 1 dive ball, 2 max potion, that's not good. 1 versus Seeker, and 1 Rough Seas. So 3 cards that are good in this matchup in order to prevent KOs are prized. So hopefully we don't struggle with that too much. Do I attach the energy to Talonflame or to Froakie? I get to Talonflame. And I'm gonna end. Remove the advantage my opponent had off of the mulligans. We find a pretty okay hand afterwards. Find a pretty okay hand, honestly. And I'm just gonna pass here. We're all set for the turn to Frogadier. I might want to wait a turn in order to find the splash, but I'm not entirely sure about that. My opponent does immediately go for the Trubbish, discards an Enhanced Hammer, which is good news. That way our splash is more likely to stay put. Immediately has the Floatstone, and there's a setup for 5 cards. So pretty nice start for my opponent. And yeah, these days you have to play Greninja as if you simply are never gonna be able to use abilities. That's the reality of this matchup. That's why the Rough Seas are so important. That's why the max potions are so important. There's an N. If that gives us a splash, I'm not gonna complain. And there's the splash. Wow, but no way to find Frogadier. So we're gonna have to spend a turn using Aeroblitz. Okay, so my opponent passes. I'm gonna attach the Bursting Balloon to Talonflame, and I'm just gonna Aeroblitz. I don't know if he will attack into it. If he doesn't, that's perfectly fine by me. I'm gonna find the Frogadier, and just in case he does find a Lysander. Is that the best play? I go for the Ace Trainer. What else could I go for? I guess, yeah, the Ace Trainer. Okay. Hopefully he plays down a Parallel City right here, right now. That would be great. That would actually be great for us. There's another Dark. A Lysander KOs a Froakie. There's the Parallel. Great news. He might choose not to attack. There's a Sycamore, so if he chooses not to attack, I'm okay with that. If he chooses to attack, I'm also okay with that, I guess, due to the bursting balloon damage. Yeah, I'd actually him rather not attack. That would be great. He immediately goes for the Garb, but okay, so he doesn't have any other Shaman, so that's fine. I was gonna say you might want to find Shaman because of your low hand, but never mind. Okay, so he attacks into the bursting balloon. That's cool. I'm gonna find the Frogadier. I'm gonna be able to counter the Parallel City, and I'm gonna be able to retreat, attach the Splash, and now do I attach a bursting balloon? I would say yes, although yeah, my opponent has 2 cards in his hand. I'm just gonna go for it. If he doesn't have yeah, it's too bad. Air Blitz is only 40 damage. Okay, there's a TCG. There's another Parallel. That's not good news. Okay, gonna have to get rid of Talonflame and Froakie. I don't want to lose any Frogadier, but at least that's his second Parallel, which I'm okay with. And he's going to end. Okay, so that means he's gonna attack into the bursting balloon. I find an Enhanced Hammer, I find 2 Greninja, so if he doesn't max Elixir here, I'm going to be in an excellent position. I'm gonna get rid of all energy he has, and I'm gonna end his huge hand. So I have a ton of Versus Seekers. I do have the Enhanced Hammer, which is awesome, and I have the energy for the KO, and I'm gonna end here. I don't want to Sycamore away 2 other Versus Seekers. I'm just gonna end, bring him down to 5 cards. I will be able to find another regular Greninja, which is awesome. I have 3 Greninja in play. I can even keep the energy. The damage he deals, it's gonna be a 2-hit KO no matter what, right? No, I'm actually gonna return the energy for sure. Even though I can KO with keeping the energy, he can still max Elixir like a few times and maybe find a DCE or something. I do find my Rough Seas and I find a Greninja Break, so like I'm good here, guys. I am genuinely really good. I am genuinely really good. If he even manages to attack, I can heal up the damage with the Rough Seas. I can switch out from one break to the other. So yeah, we are pretty good here. There's another Yveltal EX. There's another Yveltal EX. And a Versus Seeker for an N. That's fine. That's okay. Even if we lose the Rough Seas and we can't find it like promptly, we did free it up of the prices, so we have access to a potential 2. We find a Sycamore, which is great. We find energy, which is great. He does hit the max elixir. That's fine. I can switch around my Greninjas. I'm gonna look for the Rough Seas. 60 damage is quite pitiful, honestly. And I top deck the Rough Seas, so that's amazing. That's really amazing. He should be out of Parallel City. He might have another one, but odds are very low of that. And I don't see how my opponent can recover here. I generally can't see how he can recover. I might want to not discard the Froakie. Definitely the Talonflame, and I guess the energy. I'm gonna find the Frogadier because I want to set up more Greninjas. I have healing, and my opponent's energy are low enough that I'm not worried about him powering up a super powerful Yveltal EX. I did, by benching the Froakie, I did make myself a little bit prone to delinquent. Just a little bit though. There's a Sycamore. But yeah, with the very few energy my opponent has in play, I don't see how we can lose, honestly. I generally don't see how we can lose. Sure, we 3-hit KO Yveltal, but at this point, he doesn't have enough resources to actually KO any of my Pokemon. There's a Sycamore, so no delinquent this turn. Another Fighting Fury Belt, that's fine. It's still 3 hits to KO him, no matter what. He's gonna deal 100 damage, that's fine. But thanks to their Team Flare Grunt, thanks to the Team Flare Grunt, thanks to Rough Seas, I'm actually gonna pressure him into having the right energy. And with 4 Greninja in play, I'm generally gonna feel very, very comfortable. There's a double healing. I'm gonna Team Flare Grunt away his energy. That means if he doesn't have a DCE, he will not be able to attack me. He's only played 1 though, and his hand and his deck are pretty thin, so odds are he might have it. And yeah, once again, I put myself in a position where he might delinquent me. If he delinquents, that would actually be worst case scenario. Okay, but he's not gonna delinquent. That's perfect. That is perfect. Perfectly fine by me. Thankfully he doesn't delinquent. Yeah, I should have maybe planned that out better. I'm gonna double heal here. I'm gonna evolve into this Greninja Break, so I'm gonna attack with that one. And I'm going to end simply to keep my Versus Seeker. I don't need too many cards right now, honestly. I even find an Enhanced Hammer and a Max Potion, which is incredible. And now I'm actually going to evolve this guy, and I guess I'll Max Potion. Nah. Yes, nah, nah, yes, yes, nah, nah. Yes, I will. If he does delinquent, at least I get some use out of the Max Potion. And I'm gonna take a KO, but should I keep the energy? Because if he delinquents, okay, no, never mind. If he delinquents, I'm actually gonna take 2 prize cards, so I'm perfectly fine. I am perfectly fine against a delinquent here. Perfectly fine. Wow, Greninja just completely dominated here. Greninja just completely and utterly dominated. Delinquent. That is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. He still has Verse Seeker, so he can still delinquent once again. I'm going to get rid of the max potion, a Verse Seeker, and the water energy. Because I can Sycamore next turn and probably find another energy, hopefully. There's only 5 in my discard pile, so there should be 5 left in my deck, unless I priced 1, so maybe 4. But it's really no big deal. It's really no big deal. There's the energy, and now I can even Team Flare Grunt the energy away, though he might have a Float Stone, so I guess it's better to just Sycamore here. I guess it's better to just Sycamore. I do find Rough Seas once again, so now my Greninja is back to full health. And I can find the 3rd break. So yeah, even if my opponent delinquents once again, it's really no big deal at this point in time. I'm just gonna Moonlight Slash forever, and I should eventually win. My opponent is down to 5 prize cards. There's absolutely no way he can win that race against a non-EX deck. Absolutely no way he can win that race. There's a Max Elixir, does find an energy. There's absolutely no way. I only have 1 Verse Seeker though, so if he does retreat and if he does manage to super power up this Yveltal EX to get KOs, then maybe. Could also deck him out. He's played 2N. He has 2 Verse Seeker right there. He plays a Float Stone. Okay, interesting choice. Looks like, I guess it makes sense. He's gonna Evil Ball instead. Okay, that's actually very interesting. If I end him, I actually put pressure on him to draw cards, in his deck out, but I might be able to deck him out myself. Like, if he keeps using resources, he has 7 cards total, so if he plays down 2 more, I might be able to do something. Those are his last 2 DCE though. Yep, he's gonna delinquent, that's fine. I'm gonna get rid of the Talonflame, the Ace Trainer, and I guess a Splash or a basic water. Or a Sycamore. Yeah, probably a Sycamore. I'm not gonna Sycamore. So the delinquent is mostly for him to make sure I don't keep healing off of Rough Seas. He's gonna Evil Ball once again, and okay, he has 6 cards. Here I can retreat into this guy. Yeah, I have 4 Greninjas, and I'm gonna need to attack 3 more times to win the game. Unless he has a Pokemon Center Lady, I'm only gonna need to attack 3 more times. Okay, there's the energy. So if he doesn't take a KO right now, I win by playing the N. Yep, and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win here by playing the N. Not even by, I would have won anyways by drawing prize cards, but I'm gonna win by decking my opponent out. And yep, he has 5 prize cards still. There's the Verse Seeker as well, so hello, well played. And I'm just gonna pass here. I'm just gonna pass and win by deck out. I would have won by prizes anyways, this just made it quicker, I guess. And that's gonna be the game, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Greninja is still a very viable deck. I do believe this is the best, absolute best version of Greninja at this point in time in the metagame. Wow, that's a lot of coins. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Please leave a like, on the video if you can, and I will see you guys on Friday for more TCG Pokédex action. And like I said, best of luck to all of you attending Dallas, and yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. Thank you so much, and bye bye.